Yeah,
I just
no,
saw
you
your.
did. Hey, YouTube, what's up? We were talking about what name we should name this episode, and I said I thought about naming it Max v Logan Dawn of VR, since this is our pre-PSVR episode. We got 4 days left. So
By the time this is an MP3, though, it'll be 1 day.
Oh, now I got my reverb going. I knew that was gonna happen. Okay, cool. Maybe have a shorter episode this week. We don't know. We'll figure it out.
The shortest episode in MGS history, a whopping 30 seconds.
That'll be a good episode. It'd be short and snappy. People
It'd be
can get right in, get right out.
Here's our social plugs.
I'll be honest, when I listen to podcasts, sometimes I see the ones that are like 3 hours long, and I'm like, I really want to listen to this, but I wish it was shorter so I could get to other podcasts quicker.
Yep. I have a podcast backlog right now. It's not good. I was trying to chuck through NBC, but after this.
Yeah, I haven't listened to NBC in a while. I probably will once they show off NX, and then I'll start listening
That'll
again.
be a good place to go.
But NBC for the last like 6 months, I've just been so like out of the loop with, because there's nothing going on with Nintendo.
Not gonna lie though, I forget what I was not gonna lie about.
I was gonna say, you're not gonna lie. Pregnant pause. Sitting there thinking,
what was it? NBC,
podcast,
Loop, NX, podcast.
Does it have to do with Unlocked or Beyond or something like that?
No, neither of those. NBC. I'm so mystified. I was right there. I had it.
Max was getting ready to speak it. Man, our brains are real dumb sometimes.
What was it? What was I gonna?
I think my sniffles are gone, but my nose is itchy this week. Okay, I am ready to go whenever you are, Maxwell. As long as that's not gonna annoy the crud out of you.
It's gonna bug me, but in the middle of the episode, it'll hit me. We were talking about short episodes, short podcasts. I don't know. That's gonna frustrate me, but oh well. I digress. Whoops.
I just typed a message to you.
You sent me a message?
I typed one to Kevin. He said, great title.
Oh, great title.
Yeah, great title.
Maybe was it about the title? No,
I don't know.
You're
way out in left field. You'll remember tomorrow.
I'm so baffled.
Like at the end of this episode. We got to get going though. Enough talking behind the scenes stuff. Let's get going here. I'm ready if you are, Max. Clean off my mic. I can do ASMR and whisper.
All right, I'll
back and forth.
I'll do my best to forget it. Clearly I forgot it, but now I have to.
Yeah, clearly you forgot it already. So no reason to.
Yes, I'm ready.
Sit around and try to remember.
What was the specific name again? What was it? Is
PSVR Destined to Fail?
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page there. VR's a day away. I don't know. Go. Take it away before I just
Max
sit here
is
for 30
losing
minutes.
it. Max is losing his mind. All right, we're going to begin the show.
Losing my mind.
Here goes the formal introduction. All right, we're going to begin in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 62 of Millennial Gaming Speak. I am your host, Logan Moore, and with me this week is the ghost of Max Roberts, who died in an awful hurricane, but he's back to haunt our show. Hey,
I am here to talk about the NX. I have spoken with Iwata.
Oh, gosh. What's Iwata been saying? What is Iwata saying?
I know.
What's Iwata saying on the other side?
Amazing. It will save us all. End world hunger.
It'll end world hunger. Oh my gosh. Those kids in Africa. The NX is coming.
Infinite amount of money.
Max's ghost. Please don't haunt our show. I'm begging you. Okay, so you died though. Let me ask you about Iwata. What's he been doing on the other side?
Talking.
Just talking? NX. That's it?
He's been spreading all the NX rumors.
But so all of our rumors, all of the leaks on Eurogamer.com, all of the supposed docs we've seen, those came from Iwata's ghost. That's what you're telling us.
Yes.
This is very interesting. I like how this time last year we had like an entire episode mourning the death of Iwata, and now we are pretending that you conversed
Now
with
we're
his ghost.
horrible. We're horrible human beings. Yes, monsters.
No, it's okay. I've actually been bringing up Iwata a lot lately too. What did I say last night? I said that Iwata was like season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh, where Yugi's grandpa gets stuck in like Pegasus's eye or whatever, and his like soul's in there. I said that's basically what happened to Iwata with the NX. He's trapped in it right now, and we're trying to free him. He's not actually dead.
Oh my gosh!
When it's released, his soul will be.
That's horrible. Coming from the guy that said is a ghost that talked to his ghost.
Yeah, that's true. You kind of started us down this path. How you doing though, Max? You survived the hurricane. You're not dead. Was it as bad as everybody thought? I mean,
I'm not on the coast. I'm about 30 miles inland. So it rained, it poured. I lost power for 12 hours, but it wasn't as bad as on the coast. On the coast is pretty bad. Like St. Augustine is flooded.
I saw that. I saw some pictures.
South Carolina is getting jacked up right now.
Yeah.
So it kind of depended where you were. In my spot, wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. So it was fine. We rode it out. Played Risk for the first time.
Oh, Risk! Wow, I haven't played that in like
took like 4 or 5 hours. It's a good time.
It's a long game.
Played some Clue. Played some Dominoes.
Oh, gosh, not Clue. I've long said I've never played Clue. Never will. I hope I die and I never play Clue.
Clue's my favorite board game.
I know.
I love Clue. It's spectacular.
I know. You got the mustard man running around with the screwdriver stabbing people in the thigh, and then that's all I know. I only know that mustard guy. That's about
Colonel
it.
Mustard.
So that's the only thing I know about Clue.
The movie's really good.
The movie. Don't bring up the movie. Some weird 80s movies based off of board games. Isn't there supposed to be like a Monopoly movie coming out or something like that? Or maybe
we just got a Battleship movie a year or two ago.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. It had Liam Neeson
did
and
every other American out there.
Battleship had Liam Neeson and Rihanna in it, if I'm correct.
Rihanna?
Like the singer?
Disturbia?
Yes, that Rihanna. I'm pretty sure.
Beat up.
Don't. She'll sue us. She's got Drake who will come beat us up or whatever. I think that was
good. I enjoyed that movie.
You watched it? Wasn't it?
Oh no, Disturbia, the movie. Oh, I didn't see Battleship. The movie Disturbia, which doesn't feature the song Disturbia.
No,
Shia LaBeouf before Shia LaBeouf went crazy.
Yeah, before he talked about just doing it and stuff like that. Shia LaBeouf's cool. I like Shia LaBeouf actually a lot.
He's nuts.
He is nuts, but I like him because of that. So
you like him because he's crazy.
Because he's crazy. Just Do It was his peak. That was his, like, he was on this slow trajectory where he's like Even Stevens. Now I'm in Transformers. Now I'm in Indiana Jones, and then he hit Just Do It, and now everything since then it's just going downhill.
He is crazy. Love him, but he's crazy.
So this episode is a
62.
Couple days, number 62. It's a couple days before VR. I figured we'll try to get into it here rather
at the time of recording. It is 4 more days.
4 more days. When the MP3's up, it'll be 1 more day.
Tomorrow.
Because that's how things work.
That's how we do it.
So yeah, we are getting close to VR. Before we get into this discussion though, go Cubs, up 2-0. What up, boys?
2-0. What do they have to get?
They have to win 3. They've won 2.
They have to win the next time they play.
No, they have. Well, yes, if they want to end it, yes. They have. It's a 5-game series. First 3 wins. So they've won 2. They won the first 2. Now they have to win 1 out of their next 3.
How stressed out are you going to be are they playing the Giants the whole time?
For this series, yeah.
So how stressed out would you be if the Giants won the next 2 games and it went to the 5th game? Would you be balled by then?
I'd be pretty stressed. I mean, the series would go back to Chicago. So they won their first 2 games that were in Chicago, and now they're going to San Francisco to play. And not only that, but
field advantage is gone.
Well, they also have to play against Madison Bumgarner, who is the best postseason pitcher of all time.
Why wasn't that pitcher in Chicago?
Well, wasn't he what?
In Chicago. for the first two games.
Because he had pitched. San Francisco was the wild card team, which means they had to play a 1-game matchup against the New York Mets on Wednesday night. And on Wednesday night, Madison Bumgarner pitched in that game, and he pitched a complete game shutout. So they used him up that game. So he typically starters rest for 4 days in between their starts, and then every 5th day they start. So he pitched Wednesday. Cubs played Friday and Saturday, so he was still unavailable. The first time he'll be able to pitch is tomorrow, Monday. But
so
the Cubs will be fine because they have Jake Arrieta on the mound, and they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
amen.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Madison Bumgarner is like really freaking good. But yeah, the Cubs will be fine. They'll win the series. I bet they win tomorrow, honestly. And I really hope that this time capsule episode where we're recording this, I don't look back on this in like a week from now and start weeping. But please, Cubs, don't do that to me. Don't break my heart, please.
Don't go breaking my heart.
But yeah, shout out to them Chicago boys. Anyway, PSVR, it's almost out. It's almost here. We've been talking about it for so long. We've been
October
excited
13th
for it.
Is upon us.
We've been excited for it. And a week before, I'm kind of getting down in the dumps about it. And not because I'm not excited for it.
Logan is a miserable, sad lump of a gamer.
It's not, because I am very, very excited to get it in my house and get my hands on it and play with it. But after hearing all the reviews this past week, because the embargo for it lifted and people have been talking about it openly and talking about the first few games they've played on it.
Week has been a lot of VR talk.
I'm getting concerned about it.
Well,
and
tell
me
your concerns. Talk to me, oh sweet child of mine.
I don't think it's gonna work out long term. I really don't. Yeah. And I have been trying to convince myself for a while now that it will. And I just don't.
What reviews? What have you seen? Because this week, like you said, the embargo was lifted, so all major press outlets put up their reviews of the hardware. They reviewed quite a few of the launch games.
Yeah.
The most notable game missing, though, I noticed was Rez.
But they said I think they said their codes have been shipped out in like 3 waves. So the first wave was like 8 games. The second wave will be like 7 or 8 games, and then the third wave.
I'm sure Rez will get its review on Thursday when it launches.
Rez will be fine. Rez is the one I'm convinced that will be fine because it's already a good game.
I just wanted to say like that was the notable one I didn't see. But anyway, all that stuff came out. Games reviewed were like PSVR Worlds, Rush of Blood, Batman Arkham VR. No rigs, no drive club, but
Thumper was another one.
Thumper, Super Hypercube
was another. Yeah, those are like the main ones for right now.
So what did you see? What did you read this week that is stirring these concerns inside of you?
I mean, so up front, like, and I know this is launch, and I'm not expecting like a full experience, but the games like so thus far, there doesn't seem to be like any complete experiences there, and I'm still looking for that one game that like is a full experience, and maybe that's
looking for a full-fledged game.
Yeah, and maybe that's like something like Eve Valkyrie, but I've even like read reviews on that because that's been out on Oculus for a while, and everybody's kind of lukewarm on it. They're iffy on it. Some people they say it's like it gets scores like in the 7s, so it's not bad by any means, but it's not like blowing people's pants off.
That would be good on the edge.
Yes, it would be good. So I think what my concerns aren't necessarily with the games themselves or with the hardware. Like, I think it is a good piece of hardware. Again, you and I have both demoed it. We both enjoy it. I think where my concerns are starting to come in is that I've started to think about it, and I've been thinking just in the past and like previous systems and consoles, not even Sony necessarily, but as the industry as a whole, there has never been a add-on peripheral to a console that has succeeded, like ever. Nothing that I can think of. Kinect was a dumpster fire, which they tried to carry over to Xbox One, and that was
Kinect. Yeah, miserable. Kinect is very useful for like voice commands, but that's about it. Like, it's very limited. It's not the motion dance sensation they want it to be.
Kinect failed. Move failed. Again, just any add-on peripheral you can think of. The only thing that had legs for a little while was the instruments for like Rock Band and Guitar Hero. That is the only thing, but that was for one specific game or 2 specific franchises. Like,
it was a very specific genre. It was very specific genre. It took quite a bit of investment, and did the Activision thing where Activision beats a franchise into the
Mhm.
ground until it doesn't make money, and they actually finally brought both of those franchises back this year. I doubt we see sequels to these
No,
games.
we won't. No, they
But
both did
I
really
mean,
poorly.
it was fun to see them make make a comeback. Apparently, Rock Band 4 is good. It's just not selling as well. There's pretty good deals on the full
I
set at
mean,
Costco.
that ship has sailed.
Oh, it's
That
long,
was
it's gone.
that was PS2 360 type era. So
Hmm. The
that's my overall concern is that I'm just no peripheral has ever
succeeded.
succeeded. No peripheral has ever really succeeded for a home
Hmm.
console. There's that. Plus, the price is really, really high for an add-on peripheral, which is another
Right.
thing. Like, so I mean, the Kinect was like what 100, $120, and that bottomed
Kinect.
out.
Yeah.
So now you're saying you need to spend $400 on this, which is
Well,
a
no.
lot
I
to
mean,
ask
a
for.
bare minimum 460.
Bare minimum 400.
No,
And yeah,
460 with the
because
camera.
if you don't have the camera or the move-ons, then you need to invest
You
in
don't
that as
need the
well.
move ons for every game. So
You
bare
don't.
minimum is headset, camera, which is 460.
Which
Uh,
you can find the camera on sale very often. I think it's on sale right now for like $35 on Amazon. So
I bought it. I think I bought it for like 25. I got it
yeah,
on
I
a
bought
good
mine
deal.
for like $20-$25 when I got mine
I'm
originally.
sure.
So
But anyway, yeah, it is very, in the grand scheme of peripherals, yes, it's expensive. When you compare it to other VR headsets, it is the cheapest.
it is the cheapest.
By a
Yes.
landslide. Even if you included buying a PlayStation, a headset, everything, it's still cheaper, significantly than the other
Well, it's
two.
cheap. It's cheap in terms of currency, but also from all the reviews I've read this past week from people who have spent hands-on time with Oculus Vive and
And
PSVR,
PSVR.
they say PSVR is the most comfortable. But once you use all of them for a decent amount of time, you definitely can tell that it is the worst of the three in terms of the specs on it, which is to be expected because
The
again,
numbers,
this is
the numbers.
a cheaper product that you are purchasing. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't think console people like you or myself will really know the difference. So I don't think that would be a
And you and
big
I
deal.
specifically, I believe you've said you've used Oculus once or twice, right?
I used it once, but it was for like a really, really bad
Right.
tech
And
demo
I've
that
only
did
used
nothing for me.
and I've used Vive one time. You and I don't have experience with the other competition in depth to draw comparisons.
Yeah.
Some things I've seen in reviews to that point of like Vive and Oculus being the better pieces of tech, which they are, because PSVR uses an OLED screen. Apparently, because I guess VR headsets, when you spend time with them, they have like a screen door effect,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's not as pronounced
Yeah.
or
I have
noticeable
heard that.
on the PSVR because of the OLED display,
Yep.
which I mean makes sense considering OLED is the organic liquid LEDs, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's like trade-offs in what they decided to choose, but
Yeah,
the pixel
for
count
sure.
the pixel count is smaller, so the pixels are more obvious, and those are just. It's kind of like it is the console trade-off. It's if I really wanted to play games to be the prettiest things they ever were, I would be playing on PC.
Yes.
And I think that just falls into the realm of VR as well.
Yeah. I don't think. Okay. I don't think PSVR is set to fail necessarily because it is the cheapest of the three notable headsets
Yeah.
on the market. I mean, by no means do I think it's a bad product because again, you still are spending $400 on the thing. I mean, you don't spend $400 on things that aren't really high quality. So it's a good
Yeah, I see what
product.
you're
It
saying.
does feel good on your head, and I don't think the fact that it is a little bit lesser in terms of specs compared to Oculus or Vive is going to doom it. I think what's going to doom it is the fact that if people don't jump on this soon enough, I think you will see devs bail. And I think it was either you, it may have been you yesterday when we were having the conversation, or maybe it was a previous conversation we had, where you said the good thing about it though is that there are developers for Oculus and Vive as well.
There are other VR platforms.
Exactly. And you can assume that when they develop for those, they will just naturally bring it to PSVR as well. So I think that could help. So
And
PSVR isn't entirely dependent on like its first parties to make things. Like you don't need like a Naughty Dog to make a PSVR game. You could have somebody who's developing something for Oculus, then bring it to PSVR later on, which could work.
Look at games like eValkyrie and Job Simulator. Those games already exist on other platforms, and they're bringing them here at launch to PSVR. Another thing is the three companies you and I keep talking about aren't the only three in the VR race. Google just announced their new phone, which again, this is phone VR, so
Yeah.
it's even cheaper. But Google is behind it. They've put it in the
Samsung's
phone.
doing
They've
something
announced
as
that
well, aren't
headset.
they? They have
I
their
mean, I
whole
wouldn't put a Samsung
setup.
phone near my face anymore, but yes, Samsung
Yeah.
has a VR. Um, so like there are other companies, granted, those are even more limited in the tech space, but I
Uh-huh.
do think VR is picking up in different places. There's
I think
I
I think it
remember
is
hearing
too.
a story that there's some shoe store. Um what's what are those shoes that you buy a pair and they give a pair to some kid?
Tom's.
Tom's. All right, you go to a Tom store. Apparently, they got a little VR station in the Tom store, and it's. I think it's
What
just a
is it, like
Samsung
virtual
phone.
reality Africa? You get to walk around and see all
Yeah,
the
that's
kids who have
exactly
the
what it is,
shoes.
and it shows them giving the shoes to kids in first person.
That's really
And like, granted,
strange.
that's just a store experience, kind of to get you to feel it. But there are other ways for VR. So I do think the market is in other places.
I think the
I
market is
think
growing. I do agree.
Mhm.
Like I think it is it may be a slow burn, but it will grow. I'm curious to see how much it does grow though, like especially within the confines of games. And again, I've talked to you, I've brought this up many times. I hope that PSVR eventually gets a lot of like applications on the PS4 that you can use with PSVR
Mhm.
for certain functionalities, whatever that may be, whether you're watching a movie or YouTube or I
Yeah.
mean, I've brought up sporting events and things like that. Like any of the cool things that are coming to PC, I hope also come to PS4. And I
And I
know it
think
is a gaming
that'll help.
system.
It's an app market can help flourish. If you keep it limited to just games, then you're limiting the possibilities of the technology. And I don't think that's what Sony would want to do. I think they would want people to experience as much as possible with their headset and be in the forefront. Sony is investing a lot of money into VR. If you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, with Microsoft's doing, their HoloLens, but that's AR and that's not really in the realm of Xbox. Like Xbox doesn't have a headset. Xbox is doing the thing where they're partnering with Oculus supposedly based off the fact there's an Xbox controller included with
Yeah,
Oculus.
yeah.
So like if
You can expect Oculus to come to Xbox at some point,
so
most likely.
with the Scorpio, so you see that Nintendo last time they did VR was Virtual Boy, and that failed
That was
horrendously due to
25 years
headaches and
ago or
stuff. Yeah, it
something.
was a very very long time ago. And I doubt Nintendo enters VR with the NX. I don't think
Gosh,
that's anything
no,
what the
please
NX
God, no.
is.
Please God, no.
Oh my gosh, what if that's what it is? It's just a VR
It's a
headset. Anyway,
headset. It's a VR headset. No, what have you done? No.
Zelda in VR. But like, if you look at the three major gaming companies, Sony is the one investing
They are.
probably millions and millions of dollars into VR and getting
They
into the
are.
hands of consumers. So
But
they're banking really hard on this tech sticking
they are
around.
banking hard on it, but they have to continue to support it. If it has a
Mhm.
bad first year on the market, you have to continue to support it. If it has a bad second year on the market, you have to continue to support it. This has to be a long-term thing for Sony. And if they really are
They got to look at it with a big picture.
yeah, if they really are dedicated to making this a long-term investment, like over the course of, I'm talking like the next 5 to 10 years, if they are committed to that, then I think it will succeed. My concern is that if they really aren't seeing a return on this, like even okay, I am sure they have a set point right now where they're like, if we hit this marker by the end of our fiscal year, we're doing well. If the PSVR sales numbers were to come in below that and even like more drastically below that than they anticipated, then I'll be curious to see what they do. And I don't think they'll ever tell us how many they were expecting to sell. But I mean, it's the same
The
with the V. It's the same.
Sony will only tell you how much they sold if it's well.
Yeah. Which is why they continue telling everybody how many PS4s they've sold
They've sold.
because they're blowing stinking water right now. So
Yeah.
if it starts going the way of the Vita and it's like, why are they being a little bit quiet on this? Why aren't they really touching on this? That's when I'm going to get really, really freaking concerned. And
Well,
again, I do believe in this product. I do believe in it enough to purchase it on day one because I do like it. I think it is a quality product. I do want a new way to play games. I am excited to get my hands on it this Thursday. But long term, it's going to take a lot for them to, I think, have this be around in 10 years. honestly.
And I'm glad you just said a new way to play games. You know, your concern is if there aren't enough of these out there, devs would step away. Besides there being other platforms for the developers to develop for, this is a new way to play. This is a new way to experience games, and I think, granted, I'm not a developer. I don't know how hard it is to make a basic 2D game. I don't know how difficult. I can't imagine how difficult it is to make a 3D virtual environment. But this is a way to experiment, and that might entice a lot of people to come in early. And I do think the first major proving ground as far as a AAA big game is Resident Evil. That
Yeah.
is, it's close. It's 3 months out.
Yeah,
3 months
that's a
away.
good one. I'm just okay.
And PSX,
even
PSX
before
is the month before, and I think Sony is gonna, they've said they have 50 games till the end of the year. PSX is in the beginning of December. I think they show us some first party stuff for 2017. I think that's smart. That's their core audience right there.
Yeah.
Those are the people that bought PSVR at that event. Those are the fans.
Well, you would think, unless they spent their money on that trip instead of VR.
Unless they spent their money on the trip. But
see, here's the thing, and this is the other thing too, that because I talked to you in the past week about possibly canceling my pre-order for the machine.
You did. You mentioned it.
If I'm being honest, like I am excited to play it this Thursday. I don't think it's worth buying right now. I really don't. Like, there's no killer app on it. Maybe if you were like a super Resident Evil fan and Resident Evil 7 turns out to be awesome, then then that's why you buy it.
Right.
But as of right now, on October 13th, I do not think there is any incentive to purchase this.
There's no flagship game. There are games I love. Super Hypercube, I love, but I'm not chomping at the bit.
You loved enough to drop $400 on it?
$400, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Now, you can tell me if you agree with me, but the reason I'm here on day one is not because there's a Super Mario 64 equivalent or something like that. I'm here because it's the ground floor of this, and I want to be there. Do you remember when the Xbox One launched and everyone got the day one edition?
It's
kind of,
which was so tacky. I
know it's
tacky,
but
I traded in my day one controller immediately.
But you're there. And I'm excited to be there on the ground floor. And this is new technologies. This isn't like buying a new phone, because these smartphones just iterate upon themselves.
I agree.
New. And I think at least that's the main reason I'm here. This Thursday, here, ground floor VR.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's a few reasons why I'm here. One, because I have stupid amounts of disposable income from time to time. Not as much as I did. I should have paid this off like 6 months ago, honestly, but I didn't.
You should have.
I have disposable income because I don't do anything else with my life. So why not? Sure, I'll buy this stupid headset. I am really excited for the possibilities of it in the future. Again, I'm concerned that the possibilities won't necessarily pan out, but I am willing to drop the money and say, look, you've won me over with just the concept of this. I'm willing to pay you because I think the promise and the hope that this could do for games is enough to make me as a gamer say, yes, I'm willing to give you money now because I want to help you right now so that you can turn that money into more products. I'm hoping it turns out to be a good investment for me. If not, I can live with that, and I'll totally be fine with that. I'm starting to think the thing may fail. Like 5 years from now, it may not be around, and it may be around, but it'll be like the Vita, where it's like, hey, we got PSVR over here, but okay, let's talk about PS5 or something like that. Like, I'm investing now because I'm hoping that investment churns out more games, more quality games that are a different way to play. You brought up, I wanted to touch back on this one thing real quick. And this is something I hope that a lot of gamers realize, is that Resident Evil 7, it is coming out. It is going to be playable on PSVR as well as without PSVR. I'm hoping people don't start to think that every game that comes out should be on PSVR, because it is, like, from the ground level, you have to completely redesign the game if you're doing it. Like,
you have to
Far Cry 5
get VR in mind.
Yes, when you can't, it's not just a copy paste save as VR. Like, it's not that simple. You have to completely from the ground up design differently. So I'm hoping, like, No Man's Sky is a good example. Forever, people were like, well, why isn't this VR? Why isn't this VR? Why isn't this VR? I mean, and No Man's Sky sucks now. No one's going to ask for that to be put in VR. I think that's the last of people's concerns at this point with that game. But I hope people realize that not every first-person game that comes out is going to be tailored for this, and that is okay. When
It
Far
is.
Cry 5 comes out, don't jump down Ubisoft's throat because you didn't design this for VR. Why did I buy this headset? Like, dude, like it'd be cool if some of these games were made for
Far
VR.
Cry in VR would be disturbing.
It would be awesome.
It
It'd
would
be cool.
be
Fight an elephant in your living room with the hat on, with that
yeah, it would be
funny hat
intense.
on.
A really good example of this was I was watching this video on IGN. It was like a behind the scenes of the Tomb Raider Blood Ties VR mode. Um, if you buy Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year anniversary edition, it comes with a new section, completely new that wasn't in the original game, where you like explore the Croft Mansion. The reason they could slap VR onto this Blood Ties thing is because they did design it from the ground up for VR. The reason you're not playing Rise of the Tomb Raider in VR is because that game wasn't designed with VR in mind 2 years ago when it was being made. But
Yeah.
the reason Blood Ties works is because it was designed from the ground up. It also works because there's no combat. It is exploring a place. It is a different way to interact with Lara Croft. And those are the kind of, you're absolutely right. It's not a copy and paste. You're not going to be playing Far Cry 5. You're not going to be playing
the
Call of Duty.
annual Call of Duty, even though I think we all thought it was coming to VR when we saw the E3 presser eventually.
There is a VR mission or something coming to Infinite Warfare.
Yeah, there is that.
It's not in VR.
See that, and that's the thing we're going to need to get away from relatively quickly with the VR space is we need full games quick. And if this time next year every game is still a 2 to 3 hour experience, like things like Super Hypercube, Res, awesome. I love them. They do not have legs to have you continue coming back to it constantly.
Those games are like a Tetris where you play you play for 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly. There's nothing that it's like I'm clearing my afternoon because I want to go sit down and play Resident Evil 7. I want to do that today. You're not going to sit down and say, for the next 5 hours, I'm going to sit down and play Super Hypercube. That's something you jump into every now and then. And while it is a good game, and while it is a fun game, and while it is a proof of concept for how VR can work, we can't keep getting experiences like that a year from now. We need to see some full-fledged games for this thing. And I think it is dependent on those.
If you look at Sony put a list out a couple days ago, like a list of games coming up at launch and then shortly after launch.
I read that.
Yeah, and there were some games on there. There's some games at launch that I think are closer to full-fledged games. Riggs. Not hearing a lot of talk about Riggs, but Riggs
is multiplayer though, isn't it? Like, not saying that a multiplayer game can't be a full-fledged game, but I'm pretty sure it's primarily multiplayer, isn't it?
Multiplayer. I believe it is. But you know, that was designed from the ground up for VR. It's a sport ball, different experience. That could be totally something. Drive Club VR, that is a driving game. Gran Turismo Sport has VR.
Which, by the way, we're not getting Drive Club because I have no idea who to contact. I've tried to figure it out and I don't know.
It doesn't matter. But but Gran Turismo Sport, which was delayed until sometime next year, I believe,
like spring maybe,
something like that. That has VR in their mind up, and Gran Turismo is Sony's golden racing child, and I mean they're getting the butt kicked by Forza right now because a Forza game comes out every year, and they're all excellent. So, but if the racing games are one way to do it.
Let me ask you this because I'm curious. How would you feel? So, how would you feel if, because of VR, it started taking away what other companies could do with current properties? For example, let's say instead Naughty Dog decides they want to make a game from the ground up for VR, but because of that, they're shelving Last of Us 2. Not forever, not just indefinitely. Right. Because they want to create something for VR. And
I was going to bring up, I had a question later that kind of was about first party devs you want to see work in VR. I think in the particular example, if Naughty Dog was smaller, that would
that may not be the perfect example.
Yeah,
obviously, you get what I'm saying.
If they're taking away from it,
like, are you okay with that trade-off? Because obviously, it is going to take games, but games need talented developers, and if talented developers aren't going to move on from their current products that they are making, then
at least right now, with my frame of mind, we keep going back to Resident Evil because it's just the most prominent AAA example. It can be played either way, like without a headset or with one. So right now I just don't see why a game couldn't do both if it was designed that way from the ground up. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Unknown. I just don't see why it couldn't be done that
well,
way.
Well, then this is another concern: is that are people going to drop $400 on a headset
for an experience
that they don't need the headset to play?
That is an excellent point, because then you're kind of getting into like, look at Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
As interesting like as Resident Evil 7 is to play, there are plenty of people out there who are like, oh, I don't have $400 to drop on that, but well, whatever. It'll just be another first person shooter action game,
horror game, yeah,
whatever to me, which is just as effective in a lot of ways. Like, you turn off every light in your house, and I mean, you'll still wet yourself.
That is an excellent question, like excellent point. It kind of reminds me of Black Ops 3, where it was you know, the PS3 and Xbox 360 version were completely limited just to multiplayer, and then the new ones were all big and shiny and stuff. And I would just reverse that. Like, the VR experience is like limited to this type of thing.
Is that what it's going to take though, to sell units after this initial burst of saying, look, this game is coming out, but it is going to be only on VR, and it's not going to be something like Batman Arkham.
Yeah, I think a full-fledged
Batman Arkham, where it's like, oh, it's a 90-minute experience. If you get it, that's awesome, and you'll enjoy this. Like, as cool as I'm sure Arkham is, and I'm looking forward to playing it, it's not going to be a system seller for a lot of people. But if they did come out with something, they're like, look, Naughty Dog made this game. It's only for PSVR. So if you want to play this game, you're going to need to go buy a headset. Will that sell units? Will that help them in the long run? I think obviously we are planning way ahead here. Like, we're talking this is a year and 18 months to 2 years down the road.
I think that's the point of your question, though. Is this thing destined to fail? When you think about it, eventually it's going to need exclusive full games. It has to have them. Puzzle games and experiences won't cut it. It has to have this is Sony first party AAA developed VR only game.
VR only. And
if you think about it, the key. VR is a system. This is a new system. And why did I buy my PS4? The main reason was Uncharted 4. Like, Uncharted 4 was announced the night the thing launched. I remember that trailer.
You bought it for Killzone Shadowfall.
That magical, wonderful, bright.
That's actually a really solid shooter.
I've heard things. I didn't enjoy
really liked it,
but a lot of people really did enjoy it.
I like how it kind of had open areas in it. Anyway,
and that's the thing. I think VR. There's going to be down the line. There's going to be something.
They need to put a carrot in front of everybody to say, look, this is why you want this. This is why you're buying this.
That carrot might be shown off at PSX.
That'd be good.
Or talked about. Like,
right now, what is something you're looking forward to in VR that is not Resident Evil? Nothing. I can't tell you anything that's out.
Like, besides the launch lineup.
Yeah, outside of the next 6 months, I have no idea what's coming to this.
Because they haven't told us anything. They haven't told us anything after Resident Evil.
But that's really scary too. Like, we're investing in a product for the future, but we don't know what the future holds necessarily.
To be fair, there's the list, and they say like Q1 2017.
Yes, I agree.
We just don't know how those are going to play out.
There's nothing notable. Like,
I think there's nothing you can associate with or have a connection to. There's not a this is a really poor example because this game would make you sick, but there's not a God of War. There's not an Uncharted. There's not a
system seller. You bought your PS4 for Uncharted 4. There's not that same thing with PSVR. Look,
and I think those have to be
I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I didn't buy my VR headset for Resident Evil specifically. And I think that's what it's going to need to take is 1, 2, 3 games that people purchase the headset for, and that's it. That's what they buy it for.
And
right now, I don't know.
We don't know what those games are. And I think it's going to take is right now. I think the stage is prove this works. This is a new way to play games, and it's worth the time. Like, prove essentially it's going to stick here.
Everything's there.
I think then
be a good product. Like,
I think really this is like to establish it, and then I do think Resident Evil is to prove that things can be adapted to this format of gameplay, because you know what Resident Evil is. So
Yeah.
like that's why 7, I do think that's one major reason why 7 is for both like non-VR and VR play, besides
Let me
also
say this
completely
too.
segregating the market.
Let me say this too, just because we have brought up Resident Evil 7 a lot. I'm kind of concerned about that game in the first place. Like, I'm really looking
Really?
forward to it. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if it's going to be like an end all be all experience. Like, just run out to the store, buy a VR headset now. I think it might be cool.
It's going to be
I'm not.
scary. It's going to be terrifying.
It'll be frightening, but
I would
I don't know,
love.
mainly because Capcom already screwed the pooch with Resident Evil 6. This series has
I do
kind of
think
been on
though.
life support since
Oh,
Resident Evil 4. And so for us
and
to put all our eggs in the Resident Evil 7 basket and say, this will be the first AAA game that will
well,
prove that we need VR.
my
I
understanding though
hope
of
it
Resident
is,
Evil
but
is because they've said after 4 they've really kind of botched the franchise. I do think, based off fan reception, this is kind of like going back to the roots, kind of
sort of.
like
Okay, as somebody who has played
It
all
seems
of
to
them,
respect it,
as
right?
somebody who has played all of them, I'm not getting Resident Evil
Except
vibes
6.
from this, except for 6. I'm not getting Resident Evil vibes from this at all. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the only correlation I see between what I've seen of this and what the demos and things like that is that they're both spooky. Other than that, I have no idea how this fits in with Resident Evil whatsoever, which
Yeah,
may be a good thing, but it's also really strange to me as a person who has played all of the games and is familiar with the story and how everything fits together. I have no idea how this game fits in with the series as a whole.
yeah,
And
and
that's just
fair.
odd to me, but it may be good because maybe the series does need a complete and total reboot of sorts, which to me means they probably shouldn't have called it Resident Evil 7. But
Resident Evil 7
besides the point,
Biohazard.
besides the point, like, I do have my concerns with that game, and I hope it is the first game that really shows, hey, AAA experiences. And we like also don't know how long it is, like
We don't
how
know anything
full-fledged
about
it
it.
is. Dude, Resident Evil 2 I beat in like 3.5 hours. Like, there's some short Resident Evil games out there. I don't think this one will be necessarily, but could. I don't know.
I mean, if it's a 10-hour game, that's a terrifying 10 hours with a headset on your face.
Yeah, it will be. It will be frightening.
I do think both Sony as a publisher and developers are stepping into new territory, and we've got to figure all this out. And it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be really interesting to see how this all plays out. I firmly believe it is going to be here to stick around. I think the new prospects.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So to put a kind of
a cap in it,
to put an endpoint on this before we move on to whatever we're going to do for the rest of the show and to our finish here of our VR conversation before we actually get the things in our hands. Hype aside, Max, I know we're both like, again, I am excited to get my hands on it. Hype aside, like, will this thing have legs? Will it pan out? Like, what do you honestly, seriously think, like, without any hyper hope from yourself?
Well, I've told the story before on the show, but the first time I tried the HTC Vive out at school, it was the first time I ever tried current virtual reality. There's an arcade here called Disney Quest that has ancient VR technology. The headset's like a foot out from your face, hanging from a huge cable, and it's massive and gives you a headache because it's so heavy. So the first time I tried real VR technology was with the Vive, and it blew my mind. And granted, this was all experiences. I was walking on the ocean floor with a boat. I was playing with stars and did a little bit of Job Simulator. But VR to me is a fundamental way to change the way we play games. And for me as a consumer, PSVR is the most not approachable. It's like it's the best fit for me because I don't have a gaming rig PC. Like, I have a PS4, so this is going to work for me. Yeah. I think VR will stick around just because of how it really is.
Stick around in what capacity? Stick around prominently or go away the Kinect, where I've still got one plugged into my Xbox One, so it's still around. But
no, I think it will be like, prominent. I think really. VR is a new way to play games. I think this is the kind of leap you saw from 2D to 3D. I think this is the next step from 3D.
You think it's going to be that drastic? Really?
I don't think every game ever is going to be support VR, but I think the type of experiences people can create are going to be just as substantial. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're
saying.
Like,
not every game is 3D now or 2D.
Yes.
Not every game will be VR, but there are substantial Like that, just like there are substantial 3D experiences like Super Mario 64 or Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us or any Naughty Dog game. There are going to be
Jack Jack's Combat Racing.
Yep, dude, I do love that game. It's fun.
Never played it.
It's a hoot. It's a blast. They did that with Crash too. They did Crash Kart Racing or something. Anyway, I do think there are going to be some profound VR experiences and games and gameplay mechanics that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. And I think that's why it's going to last. Not necessarily PSVR, not necessarily Oculus or Vive or whatever, but I do think VR, the technology, is going to be around as a gaming application. And I think PSVR is going to be the most successful out of the big three because it is so there's 45 million people that could potentially buy this thing. It is the cheapest entry point for the type of it. And I think
but you do have Facebook backing Oculus, and you don't know how prevalent that could become.
I mean, Oculus did just have an event. They've announced quite a few cool things.
I think Oculus has the most steam behind it. Like,
they have the most money behind it.
And I think it's the most well known of the three. I mean, PSVR may get a little bit more out into the zeitgeist at this point because PlayStation is a well-established brand,
right?
But I think up until this point, Oculus has been like the one that people are, a little bit aware of.
Even just again, Oculus just announced how much their Move Lite controllers are, $200.
Jeez.
Granted, these are brand new piece of technology.
Yeah,
RPS Move controllers are 6-year. It is, but again, that entry point, that barrier to entry, is higher and higher for the other two, and I just think it's not as daunting. PSVR isn't as daunting. Just like building your own computer is a daunting task, buying a game console isn't daunting. You go to the store, you plug it in, and you play. I think that's actually going to lend a strength to PSVR. It is a plug and play VR system.
I hope so. I really do. And you can imagine that we will see like revised versions of PSVR going forward in the future. Like this is 1.0. You can assume
there will be
headset.
There will be Mark 2.
I mean, you can assume that we'll see
everything gets a version 2.
So I think long term for myself, I mean, obviously I hope it pans out because I think it really could be something entirely new. As we said, like this is a new way to play games that we have not seen before. So this could be a really, really big deal for games as a whole, and more directly for Sony. I have just a lot of reservations and concerns, though, to say that it will outright be a success because, once again, like I said at the start of our whole conversation here, I don't think a peripheral for a home console has ever succeeded. And the track record with those shows that if they aren't making the money, the developer stops putting money behind it themselves. The devs then stop developing for it because they know that there's no money to be made from a game that they put on the system there. And that's the thing. This is a business. If devs, as much as devs may think that the product itself is good, if they don't see a way for them to then get money back from it, then they're not going to do it because there's no incentive for them as a business to make money. They can't afford to keep paying hundreds of people's salaries if they're going to work hard for a year, 18 months, 2 years on a product that in the end will just fizzle out and won't give them half of the money they put into it. So there is a lot of concerns. And again, this leads back to Sony. I think Sony is going to need to maybe monetarily incentivize like some of their incentivizes. I don't even know.
Incentivize.
Is it? I think they're going to need to monetarily like push some of their devs and be like, hey, Naughty Dog, we need you to develop a PSVR game. And if Naughty Dog's hesitant, Sony needs to be like, we'll give you X amount of money to do it. Please, like, I know we own you, so I guess technically we could command you to do this, but look, if you make us this game, we'll toss you this money, blah, 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 blah. Things like that. I think that's what it's going to take. It is going to come down to the games. Once again, I am buying on day one because I think the hardware is there. It will be a good piece of hardware. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, but honestly, long-term, 5 years from now, I really don't know if it'll still be around. I could see this being a flash in the pan similar to Kinect, and I think it has a lot more applications to it. I think it has a lot more potential. The potential for VR is incredibly high. But once again, if it doesn't pan out and they're not seeing direct return in terms of money, if they aren't making money off of this, then they will kick it to the curb just like everything else because they're looking to make money. This is a business first and foremost, and you can't spend 2 years working on a game, 3 years working on a game if you're not going to make money on it in the end. So
No, you're right.
I'm optimistic.
Hopeful.
5 years from now, I think it'll
I
still be
do-
around, but I don't know if it'll be prominent in any way. And that would be my firm belief on it. I personally am a believer as far as like people around me purchasing it themselves. I'm a believer. With VR, no ER. Yeah, I get what you're doing there. A written joke. Think about it, people at home. I believe in it myself. I don't know if 5 years from now it's anything more than what the Vita is right now.
I do want to say, you're talking about it as a peripheral, which it is. But I'm sitting here thinking about all these other peripherals, the NES Zap Gun, the Kinect, DDR dance pads. Actually, yeah. All of those are forms of input into the game world. VR is the only one I can think of that is both input and output. It is inner. It is. I mean, I
guess
next
you could
level.
say. I guess you could say move-ons are because it's something physical that you're like.
But it's not.
Doing.
You interact.
Yeah,
with the
I get what
game
you're
with that.
saying.
Yeah, like it's outputting a virtual world to you, and I think maybe that's the difference. Again, I don't know. I've only played PSVR 3 times. I've only used it 3 times. Thursday here, I'm gonna have it all the time. Like Thursday, I'm gonna play it. Friday, I'm gonna share it with some people. We're really going to see how this thing pans out, but I'm very optimistic in the technology of VR. And I really do hope Sony succeeds in that realm as far as PSVR goes. But I do think VR itself as a whole is here to stay. And I think it's going to offer experiences both in games and in life that we haven't been able to experience yet. And that's what I'm super, super excited for.
I mean, I agree. I think, again, the potential's for it there.
The potential is there. And they just have to reach it.
The potential's there. The market is my concern, and so that is my main.
We'll see how it pans out.
Hold up at the moment. So yeah, that's our big VR conversation for the week.
I did have one VR question for you if you wanted to keep it all together.
Go ahead. Yeah,
it's a short one.
I'm trying to see. Yeah, go ahead.
I just was curious. Out of all Sony's first parties, who would you want to see the most make the next VR game? Like.
Like existing IP or like
just a developer make a game. Like I'm not saying like you want to see Uncharted VR. I'm just saying you want to see Ready at Dawn make a VR game.
I mean, the obvious answer then, of course, is like Naughty Dog because their track record is so incredible with their game.
Yeah, and they've never, they've always worked in 3D games. They've never done obviously they've never done a VR game. Do you think? Because that's my answer.
So you're talking like they've always done like third person type games is what you're saying?
Yeah, like how would Naughty Dog
for VR to survive? I think they are going to need to find something outside of like the first person realm. Like we are going to need to see the first proof of concept of how VR would work for a third person shooter or something like that. Like
a God view, like you're looking around.
I don't know what it looks like because I'm not smart enough to think of these things, but we are going to need to see new games, new current genres adapted for VR and how those would work. And I think third person games are a big one. Obviously though, like I said, yeah, Naughty Dog would be the big one just because they are like the best around as far as gameplay games go. Sucker Punch would be another one, but just I was about to say keep working on Spider-Man, but they're not working on Spider-Man.
Well, I think if Batman VR is as what's the word I'm looking for? Like immersive and captivating as people are saying it is. Like you do feel like Batman. I think if Sucker Punch did a superhero type thing in VR, again, I don't know how that would work, but Sucker Punch has done a very good job of making people feel like superheroes since Infamous. If they can adapt that into a virtual world experience, I think Sucker Punch is very good at making you immersed in their worlds. From Sly Cooper to Infamous, I think Sucker Punch would make a really cool VR game. I think they could.
Yeah, they could. They could definitely do it. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see a bunch of their different studios give it a shot. Like somebody like Gorilla. Gorilla is working on rigs right now, but they're also working on Horizon Zero Dawn. Like I'd like to see little one-off offshoot teams design VR games like they're doing.
Can
Like
you
I think that'd be
imagine?
cool.
Can you imagine a clicker in VR?
It'd be freaky.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe.
That would be.
Depending on it, it'd all depend on the
Oh, I'm not saying I want a Last of Us game. I'm just like
No,
just
I was just
being
saying it would
like
all
in an
depend
environment
on
with a clicker would be terrifying.
yeah. Yeah. It
Last
could
of Us
be.
2,
Last of
PlayStation
Us
VR
2.
exclusive. That would be the dumbest thing they could ever do.
Yeah, they wouldn't see that. They wouldn't do
They
that.
would never do that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of potential from a bunch of their different studios. I think Naughty Dog, like I said, is the obvious one. Sucker Punch. Those would be the first two that I would bring up that I would like to see them do something. But will they? I hope. Time will tell.
Probably.
We've got about another 10 to 15 minutes,
We
I'd
can
say.
save.
Well, we can. I think we can tie in the one that you're talking about, and we can hold over my other two that I was talking about for next week's. Because I mean, your thing, because like you said, it does kind of tie in to PSVR.
Kinda
Since
does
we are
tie
both
in.
getting it this week. Your topic of sorts that you wanted to bring up was just the joy of owning every platform, which you and I both do. We do own.
We
every
do
platform
actually now.
currently.
You and I both. You've owned. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've owned everything a little longer than me. Like you've
Since
had everything in the
launch.
PS2. Well, you've had all three major systems at some point since the PS2 era, right? PS2, Xbox, GameCube.
Yeah.
Did you have an N64 and a PS1?
No.
Okay, so you started.
Since I had a PS2, then I bought an Xbox for my birthday, and then I got a GameCube for Christmas, and so I had all of them. And then I bought a Wii. I got a Wii for Christmas. We bought my dad a 360, which ended up being my 360.
Your 360.
We bought my dad a 360 for Christmas because he wanted one. He thought they were cool. And so
They
that
were
ended
cool.
up being mine to play. And then eventually I bought a PS3 down the road. And then
When they weren't
he,
$599.
I think it was 400 maybe
Okay.
around then.
Was it a fat? Did you have a fat?
Yeah, I had a fat. I bought it when Metal Gear Solid 5 came out, or 4 came out. Sorry. Yeah, not 5. And then this cycle, I've had all of them since launch, except for the Wii U. I bought that on Craigslist from a lady, so I didn't even give Nintendo my money for that one. Which good, glad I didn't.
Gosh, you monster! Horrible person.
Yeah, I think I bought my Wii U in October. And then the next month, Xbox One and PS4 came out.
PS4.
So I bought all of them within like a month of one another. Because the World Series was on when I bought my Wii U.
That is so expensive.
I had a stupid amount of disposable income at the time. I wasn't going to school. I just worked 40 hours a week, and I made a lot of money. So I just
Good God,
blew it.
that was quite the week.
My girlfriend had dumped me. I had disposable income, and I just blew it all.
Oh yeah,
not all of it. I bought all three of those. It didn't even put a dent in my savings account, so I was fine.
I remember my bad breakup, and I had money left over. Then I went on a trip.
Yep, that's what you do.
Therapeutic spending of money.
So we do have all of them, though. What did you want to touch on?
I wrote this topic down in my notes a long time ago, and I don't know why or what came over me, but I just like. It's pretty darn cool to own everything. It's coming from a guy. I guess technically, yeah, I'm spoiled. I guess. I mean, I've saved up and bought all of them. Got my Wii U on like layaway at Kmart when I worked there. Bought my Xbox because I traded in my PS3, and I saved up and bought my PS4 at launch. And I've bought, I bought my Vita, my 3DS, and all that stuff. And like, video games are cool. And it's fun to play different things on different.
Good topic. Video games are cool.
Video games are cool. I don't know. You got Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox One, and then you've got, which is a fun and zany game, and then you've got weird experiences like Hotline Miami on the Vita and Danganronpa. I don't know. I don't even know where this came from or like why I wanted to bring it up, but I just think it's really fun and cool to own everything and see all the different experiences.
Yeah, it totally is. It is nice owning everything, which is always, I've never understood console fanboyism. Like I always have a favorite every life cycle, but I've never I've never been dedicated to it. Like PS4 is my favorite this life cycle. Yay. 360 was my favorite last life cycle. Like, hooray. Like, I don't understand why people
As a
hold so
kid,
true to just one.
I was so loyal to Nintendo, and I think part of that was because my parents always saw Nintendo as like the kid, like they're the Disney of video games.
It was GameCube the generation before that. That was like my favorite. That was my favorite the generation before.
GameCube is dope.
And then the Wii came out, and that was my favorite for a while. And then like 3 years in a life cycle, I was like, nothing's coming out for this. Nothing that I want, at least. It's all like freaking.
You already had your Smash Brothers. You had your Twilight
had
Princess.
Your Smash and your Twilight and
your Mario Karts.
Mario Galaxy. I didn't buy Mario Kart. I didn't like that one. I didn't like the Wii one at all.
No, a lot of people don't like the Wii one. I do, but
I wasn't a fan.
It's okay. It's not the best. It's
nice owning everything. Like, okay, let's look at this fall, for instance. Gears 4 comes out next week. Cool, I can buy that. Color Splash came out this past week. I could buy that if I wanted to.
I've
in a couple months,
been thinking about Color Splash.
Don't do it. I listened to a podcast today. I listened to somebody who is a Paper Mario purist like you are with RPGs, and he talked about how much he despised Color Splash. And who reviewed the game. It was the Game Informer podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Hansen was talking about how he's a purist with the series, and he loves all the RPG ones, and that's how they all need to be. And somebody else who hadn't played the old ones or isn't like in love with them like he was, he's like, well, I thought Color Splash was really good. He's like, no, this is an abomination. Do not play this game.
I've read reviews from people that are like purists like me with Thousand Year Door, and I've read reviews from other people. One review I watched is from a man that is after my own heart. He's YouTube. He goes by the name of Arlo. It's actually a guy who made his own Muppet, and he's a Muppet that reviews games.
That's strange.
It's cool. I can send you his stuff sometimes, but he became infamous for this Paper Mario rant when Color Splash was announced. Anyway, I watched his review, and like Color Splash has really cool elements to it, and its weakest point is like its world design, and like world design in the fact it's a map and not a cohesive world.
Yeah.
But then you get kind of the perk of you can design different levels with different aesthetics. Like you don't have to stick to one thing. I hear the writing is fantastic. Really, the crappy part of it is the battle system, which
I heard the writing was fine. I heard they tried to do too many jokes this time to the point where every other line is supposed to be like a joke.
I've heard it's very fun. I've thought about it. I think
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because it's probably going to be on 3DS within the next 2 or 3 months.
Wouldn't surprise me. But my friend Landon is buying it, and I was going to find out if he was buying it physically or digitally. And if he was buying it physically, I was just going to borrow it from him.
Yeah, that's the better choice.
Anything, might red box it. I'm not going to go out and drop $60 on it right now, especially with VR coming.
Yeah, especially with the NX coming. All these Wii U games will be $20 within the next 8
Yeah, so like I'm not running out the door, but I thought about it the other day and I said, Thousand Year Door is amazing, but this might be a good game.
I heard it basically just builds on the mechanics from Sticker Star more than anything.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I bet you'd think it's fine, more if anything. I don't know if you'd despise it, but I bet you'd think it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounded kind of good.
I don't want fine with my Paper Mario games, honestly. Like I want
I'm in the mood for a good laugh. We'll see. I don't know. But I've been thinking about that game a little bit lately, and like I can technically, like I could spend the money and buy Paper Mario, but I have VR coming, so
yeah.
It's like I don't know. There's so many different experiences out there, and the fact that I've been fortunate enough to like work and save and buy these things lets me experience them if I want to, and I think that's really, really cool. I don't know. I feel fortunate. I guess I'm thankful for it.
Thankful for being a white rich kid like us. Yeah,
white privileged dude.
No, we both had to work to buy our systems. At least I did. Like I haven't been gifted a system in quite some time. Probably the Wii was the last one, honestly. Wii was the last system somebody bought for me.
The Wii was the last system someone bought for me.
I've bought every one since then.
I remember buying my Wii. I remember the day vividly.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. That was the last one I got for like Christmas or something like that. So,
yep.
But yeah,
I remember.
it's nice having it's nice having all three systems. It really is. I've
Now we get all.
had
Well,
all
technically
three
five.
forever. Like and it's like addicting to get all three of them because then you just want all three of them every life cycle. So I always make sure to save up money. But I am thinking about bailing on the NX. It depends on what it's like. I don't know.
Fun NX mention. They have a fiscal meeting at the end of the month.
I heard about that.
So if they don't reveal it before then, they have to reveal it to investors because
I think it's delayed at this point. Like I've been thinking about it. It's not coming out in March. There's no freaking way. If it comes out in March, I'll be shocked. It's also really stupid to release it in March.
I'd do a bragging rights bet with you since we're not close enough for me to give you money. I would bragging rights it still in March.
Like knee jerk. I agree with you. I still think it is.
It has to be.
It's starting. It doesn't have to be at all. It'd be dumb. I think it's dumb to release a system in March. That is really.
It's hard,
stupid.
but I think it's because of their fiscal year.
But it's.
We'll see. But anyway,
it doesn't make a bit of sense to release it in March.
The whole point of bringing this up though is we will know what the NX is by the end of the month because they have to tell their investors.
Oh boy, whoopee! I'm so excited. We already know what it is.
I know,
that's
but
the point. That's why I'm not excited to see it. Is because I'm pretty dang sure we know what it is.
What if we're all wrong?
I really hope so. I've been crossing my fingers and praying.
Everything's wrong.
I hope it's just like, hey, do you like GameCube? Here's a 2017 version of the GameCube. I'd be like, yes, that's what I wanted. I just want a controller in a box. Give it to me, please.
I think this is gonna be the controller in the box, except the controller it's gonna be a DS in a box.
No, it's not. There's already a gimmick to it. It's not a controller in a box. If there's a screen on it and you can take it to the library with you and play it there, then it's not.
So the DS has a gimmick of a touchscreen, but the Game Boy Advance is a gimmick.
That's a handheld console. See, that's the thing.
I'm saying that's what the NX is.
No, it's not. If it's a home console, it's a home console. It's a handheld console. It's a handheld console.
Both.
If it's both, then that's the gimmick. The gimmick is that it's both. So
that's not a gimmick.
Yes, it is.
A gimmick is the Wiimote waggle.
No, that's a gimmick. Saying it's both is a gimmick to me. Saying this is now our new handheld front and our home console front. That is,
I think it's smart.
That is the spin on it.
We will most certainly.
You know what the spin Microsoft and PlayStation, Microsoft and Sony put on their systems? It's more powerful. That's their thing. Which I get, and I get that Nintendo has to come up with.
I was gonna say you chewed Sony out for PS4 Pro being more powerful
because it's not needed. It's not needed at all.
So
it's not. You save that for the next upgrade for the.
You ready?
We don't. Please don't. I don't want to argue about that again. Go ahead.
If this is 62, by episode 65, we will have official word from Nintendo what this thing is,
or not. You would think it's gotta. It's just. I don't care. I'm not talking about it anymore. When we see it, we'll talk about it.
I know it's gonna be
actually.
Great.
You know what? We've got a couple extra minutes here. We may as well do my topics as well.
Oh, you want
because it deals with the NX, and so if we're talking about it, let's just talk about it because I don't want to talk about this stupid thing until we hear about it again. How much does it have to be? That is my simple question. What does the price have to be on this? I'm saying $299. If it's anything over, and again,
I was gonna say $249.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I mean, I'd pay $299 for it, but
it has to be in that neighborhood. If it's like $400, then they're screwed.
Oh, it's not. It won't be $400. They're not. They won't pull a PS3 Sony move.
That's not a PS3 Sony move. That's a modern day console move. Both of the current ones we have were $400 when they came out.
A PS3 Sony move where they get like a ridiculous price for something that it shouldn't cost that much. Like the NX shouldn't cost $400. You see what I'm saying? Like the PS3 need to cost.
See, this is why this is dumb because we don't know what it is, and we're like, hey, how much do you think it should be?
$249.
It has to be. It has to be between $49 and $99. I agree. It has to be something in there.
That's exactly how much it is. I think the launch is going to be crazy. We're going to get a Mario.
Of course you do, because you think Nintendo everything they're going to do is crazy.
We're going to get Zelda and Mario at launch.
No, we're not.
Yep.
Mario? No.
Zelda and Mario at launch.
No.
There's not been a Mario games, 3D Mario games.
3D Mario World, man, it was the same thing.
I said since 3D World.
3D World wasn't that good.
3D World's great.
It was fine. It's not a Galaxy
100%
2
of that
Sunshine
game
or
all by
64.
myself.
That's sad.
It was great.
That's why I didn't like the game. I felt like I needed other people to play with.
You
to enjoy it.
definitely do not.
You don't, but it would have been nicer.
No, it's a blast by yourself. Actually, playing with other people's frustrating.
We're not.
They don't know what they're doing.
We're not getting back into this. Me and Max had a big old argument yesterday about how we use a dumpster fire because it is.
Wii is great. Love it.
It's not great. It's not great. Objectively, we all agreed it is not good hardware. Period.
It's a great system.
Nope. It's
Love
bad. It's really bad. The internet sucks. The tablet sucks. There's not offset sticks on the stupid tablet. It is bad system. Bad system.
There's
The
not
games might
offset
be good
sticks
for
on
it.
the PS4 controller.
Yeah, because those make sense. They're right next to each other. There's 6 feet between the sticks on the NX, and it's obnoxious. Or whatever. Don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
NX has a wonderful lineup, and it's fun. Wii is great. Love it. Till the day I die.
You also will have never said anything bad about Nintendo in the 62 episodes that we've had this show. So there's that.
I don't know about that. I've had frustrations with them. Certainly in Paper Mario front.
Yeah.
Certainly on the Paper Mario.
That's all. That all comes down to Miyamoto. He's the one who screwed that series. Do you know that?
Yeah, Sticker Stars, like they were making Thousand Year Door.
Making it
They were
an RPG.
porting Thousand Year Door to the 3DS. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, he screwed it over.
And then Miyamoto's like, remove the story.
He was the one
Get
who
all
said
action.
remove the story, and he also said to remove all. He wanted all the toads to be unilateral from now on. Things like that. He doesn't want them to introduce new characters. He wants them to only introduce characters that have already existed within the Super Mario world.
I'm telling
It's
you, man.
weird. He has totally screwed Paper Mario up.
They were doing the dream. The thing I'd been dreaming about since a wee lad. They were doing it.
Nope.
And they robbed
Miyamoto's
me.
been kind of sucking the past 5 years, honestly. He botched that. He botched Skyward Sword. I don't care
I
what you say.
disagree with that.
He botched Skyward Sword.
Disagree with that.
Where is Project Robot, whatever you want to call it? Star Fox sucked.
Star Fox was a disappointment for people, yeah.
Like, in most of the recent projects.
Pikmin 3 apparently was good.
What was?
Pikmin 3 apparently was good.
Was that him?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, Pikmin 3 was good. I enjoyed that. That's one of the
I enjoyed
3D
3D
games
World.
I do like. Did he do that? Or was that the Mario team? Because there's things he gets like directly involved with and is like totally hands-on, and there's other things that like
I don't know.
obviously it all comes obviously the whole company comes back to him in the end, but is he like directly working on them or not?
I guess not then. I guess that
Star Fox we knew like okay, he's directly working on this and it sucked. So yeah. I don't know. We gotta go. I gotta go eat dinner. So we're gonna pack the show up here.
No break. You have to eat a dinner for a change.
Yeah, well, with my family, not with my girlfriend. Not like you. Not with your girlfriend.
Sorry.
This ruins the show and the.
How she ruined the show?
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I was gonna say she's never ruined the show ever.
I gotta watch a TV show after this too. The Walking Dead's on tonight, and then I gotta go.
No, it's not.
Something, and then I gotta go watch that Kiefer Sutherland show.
That's on Wednesday night.
I kind of wanted to watch. I think I'm gonna start watching Westworld.
I don't have HBO, but I've heard very good things about it though.
I've heard good things about it. I've got HBO now.
When I do my HBO Now subscription early next year for Game of Thrones season 6, are we in 6 or 7 now?
7.
Now I have to lose the numbers. When I do 7, I'm gonna watch Westworld during then.
You can do that next June then, because I think that's when Game of Thrones returns.
My computer did something crazy.
Oh, hopefully we didn't just lose all of our.
No, I didn't lose the episode. It just all my windows popped up out of being minimized, and like I'm not near my mouse at all.
Well, while you fix that, I'm going to do the closing here so we can get going. Thanks so much for listening to episode number 62. We thank you so much for joining us. If you want to find the show on Twitter, you can find us at MGS Podcast. We tweet from there every now and then when the show's going live on YouTube and when the shows go live in MP3 format on iTunes and SoundCloud. So follow us there. And be sure to tell your friends. You can also find Max. He's at Max the White. You can find myself at Moreman12. Hi, I'm Logan Moore. I'm at Moreman12. You can see me tweet about the Cubs and their journey to win their first World Series in 108 years. So follow me there. You can also email the podcast with any questions, comments, or concerns you may have at mgspodcast@gmail.com. I've been tripping up on that lately. I don't know why. But you can email us there. We are on YouTube. We record the shows via Google Hangouts or whatever on YouTube. So we got a YouTube channel. If you're watching now, what's up? How's it going? You can find us at Millennial Gaming Speak on YouTube. So just search us there. You'll find all of our episodes if you want to watch it. Watch the video versions. They're not very entertaining, but you can still watch us there.
You can see my dimly lit face and Logan's brightly lit
face and my bright face because I got a big old light over there that's shining on me. And then we are on iTunes, and I keep stressing if you do listen to the show every week, and heck, if you listen to it on SoundCloud, I don't care. Go open iTunes, go leave us a review. I really would like to get reviews on iTunes. It helps us out a lot. Please give us a 5-star review. We would appreciate it. Helps us reach more people's ears. That's always a good thing for us. We're always trying to grow this show. So if you could do that, we would appreciate it so much. Whoever you are, I don't care who you are. If you're listening to this, please do it. Putin, Vladimir Putin, you're listening to this.
Yeah.
It's a 5-star review, please, begging you. With that, I think that's everything for the week. I think that's the rundown. I always feel like I'm forgetting something in our rundown there at the end, but I'm not. So
you should write it down.
There's a yawn to close the show.
The best of yawns.
Max always yawns every single time. Anyway, thanks so much for listening this week, you guys. We'll be back next week with our PSVR impressions. We'll finally have the thing in our house, which is weird.
Hot dog.
Hopefully the Cubs win game 3 or 4, so I don't have to watch game 5 Thursday night. And because I would much rather prefer to play around with VR, but I will be watching the Cubs if they do have to play a sudden death game, which PSVR is going to be the last thing on my mind that day if they have to play game 5. So let's hope they just blow Madison Bumgarner's pants off.
The Cubs win game 3, so we just done with it.
You and me both. But until then, thanks a lot for joining us this week. Have a great week. Go Cubs, go.